Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniX DBS, and today we are going to double down on the speculation station stop, and mainly because one, there's actually even more news to dive into, or more diving to do into the news that we already have, but also a little more speculation to be had too. And you know this channel, like, no offense to anybody else is doing it, I applaud all of you guys, and I love this sort of talk, not just talk about the, meta or what's being used or not used, or, like ratios of the street dates being broken on cards, but really just like, it's so cool to have the community start to chatter about new cards that are coming out and what they could be, what this can mean for the game. So I'm going to dive into it. I'm going to say right first and foremost that if you like the content, by the end of the video or at any point where you realize, dang, I could really hear more of this guy, press the subscribe button, like the video, comment with your thoughts by the end of it, help it trend, because we got a lot of funny stuff to go into. We're gonna keep the things very, very short in terms of plugs, because I had a subscriber let me know that last time was a bit excessive. I did try to shout out a whole tournament, but we're gonna do it real quick here. Not the tournament shout out. You should still sign up for that though. But if you haven't joined the Facebook official group, you should join that, because that's where we get all the official spoilers. Not that this video has any, yeah, official spoilers and announcements. You've got a discussion group where we talk about all these things. You've got my Discord as well as my Facebook group where we talk about things in a more exclusive setting. You have the Reddit where it's text-based but more discussions happen. Outside of that, we have a podcast going on between the Spirit TCG and I. It happens once a week. Link to that will be in the description. Great stuff. And TCGMetalZ is constantly making metal cards, tournaments with its own prizing, including booster packs, TPs, metal cards. You could go there, use the code UNIX in the checkout to get 10% off your entire order. And last but not least, if you like the content here and you want more Universe X, I have a channel for Dragon Ball games, which is UniXDB, and a channel for Gacha games, UniX Gacha. So that was quick, 50 seconds. I hope that's better for you. You know you are. Anywho, let's actually jump into this. So we talked about the 4 decks that were coming out before, right? And I really kind of want to focus on the looks of these, because it's very important to note that Bandai doesn't really use placeholder art. They just silhouette out the art that was already going to be on the card or the booster box, and they let us, like, they fill it in later. This is kind of showing us how long in advance they actually have these things ready to go. And because of that, I have some kind of interesting things. So people already know that it was speculated these decks are going to be red pan, blue trunks. Well, people were debating on the trunks, because it was a really weird looking thing and they couldn't tell what stuff was, but we're getting to that. Green Gotenks and yellow Great Ape. Now, I think that one thing that I am going to put out, and this is also courtesy of the Absolute Units. This is my local homeboys, the squad, the team, more specifically Eric Thompson, one of the best judges of a team. He helped me really look at these arts, and we were discussing back and forth, had a little discrepancy about what blue was, but then he actually found the correct art. Like, I was right, but he was the person that cracked the code on the art, and that was pretty ballin'. So with that being said, I am now thinking, with these coming out in set 8 or 18, the introduction to a new block, the introduction to the new mechanic, which is going to be the Z leader, the fact that we're getting decks for every color so far except black in one set is kind of telling. I think it's going to be kind of like not a reset, but a great like re-standardizing of, the colors. Like, each one of these is probably going to be a very good, solid, generic leader for the color that can utilize the Z Awaken. And when it comes to these, I do think these are all going to be reboots, but reboots that suit the new block. And why I say this is because each one of these arts correlates to an art that we already have. So if you look at the red one, the silhouette that we have is the awakened art for Pan ready to fight. You can see here that she's in the pose where she's blasting down, plus the chain coming off of her pants. with these things, I'm going to talk about what, you know, card it is, and then I'm going to talk about kind of their effects and general power level. For any of you guys that were around before when this deck came out, it was the set 3 deck. Once per turn when you play a battle card, choose that card and it gains plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. Then if the power reads is 20,000 or more, you draw a card. And then when your life is at 4 or less, you may choose up to 2 of your energy, switch into active mode and flip this card over. Okay, cool. Then when she flips over, she has the same effect as the front one with the boosting and the drawing if it's over 20k, but she also attacks and draws 1 card, meaning that she is able to draw 2 cards in her back, and that was insane back then, being an untap awaken leader. But the thing is, she didn't have self-awakening. The thing about Pan's effect is that it's actually not a bad effect even still, it's just the front side is incredibly lacking. So what I really think that all they would need to do is allow her to either take life and then have that effect. Like, you can play a card and then take life, or maybe Icarus it. When she swings, she can take a life, but she also can have that effect where she can play a card and draw one, because then you're gonna +2 off of every turn she's pretty much up that you can play a card. But she also lives and dies off of what cards are currently in the format. We can't be playing 2 energy for a 15k crit like Trunks back on the set when she was released. We need some cards that specifically, even if they're leader locked so it doesn't get too out of control, we need some cards that come down at 15k that can get boosted by her effect for cheap, so that she can kind of go off queen. But the untap 2 in red is incredibly valuable because, you know, untap 2 means you can drop double divine presence if the momentum's going your way, you're up on energy, you have the right hand set up, you know, testing you up, all these things. But her effect is still an effect that can be used till this day. And that's actually just something you can't really deny. Of course, I can't speculate on what they're going to do tie-ins to Z leaders. I'm not sure if Z leaders is going to be something that's specific to the card or specific to, you know, leaders that can better utilize it. If we'll be able to use Z leaders on any leader, we have to see. But that's going to be something that's pretty cool. Now, moving over to the next one, blue. This one's a little hard because it looked like it was odd. People saw the hair and they were like, okay, that's definitely Trunks, but then they saw like the shrimply, it's my strong hand, like arm coming off the side that kind of looked like a leg that wasn't arm. Well, you know, like I said, I was like, okay, that little mark over his shoulder looks like a scabbard. Now maybe it's from the back and the arm just looks weird because it's from the back. You know, like I said in the group chat, Eric was like, oh, it's baby because of like the arms or the shoulder pads, and I was like, well, those are too short and nubby to be those. That's not the case. But then he dug deep and he found the art. This is indeed Life Trunks Awaken art, SS2 Trunks Envoy of Justice. This is exactly, you can see the art. It's kind of hard because, you know, the text panel cuts it off, but you can see the scabbard over the shoulder, the spiky hair, the leg that comes down into the boot, which makes that actually make sense, followed by the sword slash, which is why the rest of that silhouette is just blacked out because that sword slash is super wide. Now, looking at Trunks, during your opponent's turn, if you would add a card from your life to your hand or place it in your drop area, you may reveal it and add it to your hand instead, so we can't be crit. And then when this card attacks, draw 1 card, okay? And then awaken, when your life is at 4 or less, yours or your opponent's life is at 4 or less, you may draw a card, switch one of your energy active mode, flip this card over. On his back, he still is unable to be crit. That is just how it is. And on top of that though, when he attacks, he draws a card, and you can pay 2, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, place at the bottom of the owner's deck, and then at the end of the turn, switch it to one of your mono blue energy to active mode. Okay, so here's a couple things here. One, when it comes to his awakening, they can easily change the awakening criteria to maybe how many face-up life you have, give a couple more cards that change the face-up life other than the 1-drop, and then bada bing bada boom, you have a great alternate win con or alternate awakening condition. Then keep the when your life is at 4 or less or your opponent is awakened, bam, this card is modernized when it comes to its awakening, and that's absolutely fine. Moving on to the back though, being able to swing and attack, draw a card, that's fine. But his effect is kind of dated. Like, you look at this effect in Xeno Trunks from Realm of the Gods, you were literally allowed to just spirit boost, pay 1, warp something. So the fact this guy costs 2 and then doesn't give you your mana refund or energy refund until the end of the turn, it's kind of lackluster. So I think what they could do to kind of bring this to the forefront, he could either ignore barrier and still have the same cost, because that is pretty costly, 2 energy, and then knowing that you're not going to be able to tap until the end of your turn, it's pretty costly. So maybe have it ignore barrier, or maybe just decrease the cost, but this is very close to being relevant. You make him awaken earlier or more avenues, you know, like I just said, when your opponent's flipped over, when you're at 4 life, or when you have a certain amount of face-up life, this guy instantaneously is just going to be better. His effect can be tweaked, but like I said, we don't know what the Z effects are doing. Going over to green, this is a Gotenks reboot, and Amani and I were talking about how he felt like Gotenks is already good. It doesn't need a reboot. And I agree. Gotenks is still viable and it does not need a reboot. But if they're trying to standardize the level of power for every, like, you know, color right now, or as of set 18, if they're trying to reintroduce a certain level of consistent power, this is cool because Gotenks is already very, very generic, but he could be a little bit more generic. Like, he still has, he can play ghost tokens, he awakens off a unison, but if they want to bring a generically good leader that doesn't need to play a unison, that can be independent of the unison package and still be good, Gotenks is a good place to start because he has so much support. You have your Reaper cards, you have so many things you can do with Gotenks that can lend to his strength, but if they like modernize it, get rid of the ability to need a unison and then make it compatible with the Z leader like mechanic and the future cards, that could be a really good jumping space because lots of people don't necessarily know, but green is on the cusp. Green is the gimmick color. Green is seen as like the joke, the butt of many jokes. But green has a lot of really good bangers that are just one generically good green leader away from being rough. I mean, you've still got Ribrianne. The new hit is a little harder to play, but if they gave you an ability to trigger it easier, that hit is disgusting. Like, discard 2 or just stop swinging for the turn, that hit is disgusting. The Kaioken Blue Goku is actually a very, very, very solid card. King Vegeta Unison is one of the most broken unisons I've ever seen. It's just green is not good and it doesn't house that amount of energy. Now, this, like I said, if you just bring this to the forefront, modernize it, it's good. But when it comes to the art, if you take away the ghost tokens, right? Let me actually find this. If you take away the ghost tokens, what you're left with afterwards is Gotenks Super Saiyan hair, but then his fist coming down, and then his knee kind of outside of his fist. But most importantly, you can see the tassels of his belt coming off to the side. And it's hard to see with this art again, but if you have the card yourself, just look at it. His fist is at the forefront, his knee is poking out, and his belt is off to the side, hidden by his names, like Gotenks Extravagant Assault. So that is definitely Gotenks Extravagant Assault on the actual card. Now we get to the last one, and that's the Great Ape. It's Uncontrollable Great Ape Son Goku. I thought it would maybe be a Golden Ape like GT theme, but once again, Eric Thompson came in with the exact art. Uncontrollable Great Ape Son Goku. And that is not a GT card. It's actually like an older Dragon Ball card, and that's kind of cool too. His original ability was activate main once per turn, look at the top 10 cards of your deck, choose one Bulma amongst them, add them to your hand, shuffle your deck, awaken when your life is at 4 or less, you may choose 2 of your energy, switch to the active mode, flip this card over. When he's flipped over, activate main once per turn, choose one of your battle cards, switch to rest mode, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, switch to rest mode, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode. That card cannot be switched to active mode during your opponent's next charge phase. When this card attacks, draw a card. Okay. This card is so old, it's from set 3, and unlike Pan, it could not even age well. I think to modernize this, you have to stop it from searching Bulma. Unless you plan to introduce like 19 Bulmas in the set, it can't search Bulma. It needs to search like Dragon Ball Saga yellow card. It needs to search, I wouldn't say Sand, because the moment you say yellow Sand, he becomes destructively disgusting. Like, you don't need a card searching Turles. But his Awaken 2 is always good. Like, Awakening 2, as long as you have the draw power, Awaken 2 is godsend because it just expands. It just accordions your turn. It just expands and blows up the turn you're able to use, or energy you're able to use that turn. So they're going to have to modernize his Awakening effects because, as you guys have seen, most decks just aren't awakening by hitting 4 life anymore. They have an alternative condition. They're awakening at a full 8 if your opponent can connect, 7 if they could once on turn 2, or straight up just 5 or 6 when they, you know, awaken after playing their unison. So they need to modernize this entire front card. Like, I don't expect this front card to do anything the same except maybe untapping 2. Then the backside is not bad, but it's still just kind of weird. Yellow has so many tapping mechanics that I don't think you need to put tapping in a leader. You need to have the leader capitalize off of attacking, or off of tapped cards. And I think that's where this kind of would go. This one is the one that's the biggest wild card, simply because, like, yeah, there's just no way this effect impacts the game at all. So I think this is the one that's like most likely to be completely changed 100%. So looking past that, the next part I'm going to go over is the ultimate deck we're going to get in 2022. And the reason why I wanted to jump on this is really because this is actually something that's very interesting. I'm going to put up the art for the new deck, right? It's coming out in 2022. It's coming out in April. We've already got at least that much known. And the crazy thing about this is, if you notice, even these placeholders, we know the colors of the deck. Why do we know the colors of the deck? Because each one is color coded. You know, the Pan's red, the Trunks is blue, the Gotenks is green, and the Great Ape Son Goku is yellow. Now, those are all releasing in set 18. But the ultimate deck next is coming out in 2022 April. So that's what the site says, and you guys can see this looks like Cell. Some people were like, maybe it's Dispo, but the things that you have to understand is that yes, the ears look different, or the horns, like the side of the head look different. We're gonna get into that, but you can clearly see like the eyebrow ridge above it. Like if you look at the W and now designing and look straight up, you see the eyebrow ridge, and that's Cell. But most importantly, you can see the leg kind of like, I'm trying to think of the way, my cat's trying to jump up. I'm trying to think of the way to describe this. The kind of pauldron like exoskeleton above his leg. You can see that jutting out, but you can also see his giant cockroach wings. So this is definitely Cell, but we're gonna get to that even further. The first thing I want to say is that I'm pretty sure this leader is black. Like I said, all these things are color coded, and let's say that ultimate decks are always just gonna have a blackish purplish design, but normally a deck is going to reflect the color of the leader, you know what I mean? And they can't just put a black box. They normally put this dark purplish, you know, violet colors. And if you look back at Toa, which I'm putting on screen right now, Toa has the exact same color combination. Like Toa used a bunch of purples, deep violets, and she was a black leader. So I think this is going to be a black Cell. And to even further kind of support that, in my opinion, not saying this is 100%, but in my opinion, this further supports it. We are actually looking at the two cards, right? There are two Android cards coming up in the Fest promotional, like, you know, prizing. And one of those is Android 17 and 18, Absorption Imminent, unique critical, limit 1. If your card is a green Android card, when your opponent's battle card is KO'd by one of your skills, you may play this card from your hand. If your leader card is a mono green Cell card, you can, and you place this card underneath your leader card, you can draw a card. So here's a couple things. We could get a mono green Cell leader. We can get a Cell Reboot, okay? The fact that this is doing that, I'm not sure if this is supposed to support the set 2 Cell, but the fact that this can go under him is very important, because that Cell, you store cards under him to draw, but you detach cards under him to blow up things. So I think it's very important that this card can kind of add more ammo, like speed up the process of doing these things. However, the fact that a green Android card, you can just play these, that's very interesting. Like, what if they release Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 as green androids? What if they release the leader for, you know, a future leader for the superhero super movie, Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, that's a tongue twister, as a green android? You'd be able to use this card in it. But if you do use it with set 2 Cell, or maybe even a future green Cell that comes out, you'll be able to slide this dude right under it. Now, it says mono green Cell, so they do not want you putting this under Surge Cell, because Surge Cell is supposed to only have its 2 activations of its effect, not 3. I get that. However, the thing that makes me feel like we may have a black Cell is actually the second card here. And that second card is actually, once I can find it, Wretched Regeneration. So you see Cell here, right? And I want you guys to notice, Cell still does not, like, look at his ears, they're still normally pointed. And I'll put on a bunch of Cell things on. That's clearly like a perfect Cell, but yes, they could just be drawing Cell weirdly in this art, but I have never seen, I'll just put multiple PNGs on screen. I've never seen Cell in my life drawn with ears that look that angular from the side. So this could be a new form of Cell. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We got a movie coming out, Red Ribbon Army. I'm not saying that Cell's coming back, but this actually kind of changes my theory, because I was kind of really against it. But now that I'm seeing this starter deck and it's coming out, or this expert master deck, whatever, it's coming out, ultimate deck, there we go. It's coming out in April. We're getting the movie in Japan in April, so it's no longer a spoiler. And it's black. I'm pretty sure it's black by the box color, but then you read this card. If your leader card is a Cell card, okay? Let me just do this for you guys right here, all right? When you go to leader and you type in green, sorry, not even type in green, let's go unspecified. You just go leader, and then you find Cell. This is the craziest part about this, right? Cell has a whopping 1 leader that's mono green, 1 leader that is green yellow. That is, you know, yeah. You now have 1 leader, another leader that's green. There are no non-green cells. So the fact that this says if your leader card is a cell makes me feel like there's a higher chance of this ultimate deck cell being black. Now, negate the attack. Additionally, you may discard 1 card from your hand if you do play up to 1 green cell with an energy cost of 1 from your deck. Then its second effect, or sorry, yeah, the second effect, activate main, green 2. If your leader card is a cell card, play up to 1 cell Xeno card from under your leader card or 1 green cell card with an energy cost of 7 or 8 from under your leader card. So this is telling me that this leader card could be a black cell, could involve putting cards underneath them, like absorption, and that just maybe like Toa was a black leader that dealt with multiple colors, maybe this cell is a black leader that also is supposed to deal with green. And I think that could potentially be really, really cool. Now, like I said, you can look at the art here and see that these ears are kind of, or the horns or the sides of his head are really, really, really pointed. I'm now wondering if this could be a cell from Dragon Ball Superhero, or I could be the stupidest guy alive and take it all the way back to set 2 and realize that they drew him like that for set 2. I'm still intrigued on the fact that the extra card doesn't say anything about green cell. It just says cell card. So I do wonder if it still could be black being an ultimate deck. But yeah, only time will tell. So I can't believe I matched up 4 arts just not to realize the last one. Huh. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this sort of thing, this sort of speculation. Yeah, I'm gonna keep the content going. I think we're done with speculation from now. I think I kind of bust this one out. But yeah, literally, let me know how I'm doing. I'll see you guys next time inside Join Universe X. Like I said, you can check out any of the other channels for more Universe X content beyond this game. Thanks. Later.